Of the Northmore ISD Board of Trustees, Monday, December 13th at 6 p.m. And we'll start with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. And the invocation will be led by Clint Spencer.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we're grateful for the chance to be together tonight. We're grateful for the health that we enjoy. We're grateful for the people that make up this community and for the school that we have. And we pray, Father, especially for the Chadwick family, which is one of our families in this time of loss. We ask a blessing on them. We pray, Father, for each of us that in the way that we carry ourselves and the things that we do, that we can honor you. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. And the Pledge of Allegiance led by Higgins tonight.
Yes, we have several students here with us tonight. Ian Van Beaver, Evian Hurdle, Rex Head, Emmeline Harris, Advent Baird, and Tracy, Adley Gregg. Tracy Gregg, sorry. You ready? So let's fly. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 3, public hearing of the ESSER grant. Ms. Sanders. Okay. And noted time in 6:02.
All right, I'm here tonight to present ESSER 3 for a public hearing. One of the requirements of ESSER 3 is that we look at our return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan. That's been looked at, and it has to be reviewed every 6 months, and at this time, there's no changes that need to be made on that. So what we're talking about is the remaining 1/3 of the ESSER funds that we are getting now. So that's the $1.2 million, $1,258,162. So what we're doing is trying to figure out how exactly we want to spend that money. So a stakeholder survey was completed. It was put on our website and went out November 5th through 12th. Stakeholders took that for the week, and you guys can see below that the top 5 identified needs, which are students' learning loss due to quarantine, absences, and other pandemic-related causes, social, emotional, and mental well-being of our students and staff, additional staff to provide support for academic learning loss. Content area that was of greatest concern was reading, writing, and math, and the activities that the stakeholders thought that we needed to implement or use to address these academic concerns was focused intervention programs for specially identified populations, such as students at risk of dropping out, hands-on activities, small group interventions, and STEM activities. So what we did after the stakeholder survey is we had a ESSER 3 committee meeting, and you guys have the committee members and you guys have the agenda. So we did that on November 17th, and we went in, and what I did is I shared all of these identified needs from the stakeholder survey with the committee. We discussed ideas that they had, ideas that had been given to me from people in the district as to how we need to spend the money. And then after our discussions, we came up with the top ideas that we would like to try to spend our money on. Now remember, the money is only good through 2024. Okay, so it's only a 2-year grant. So these ideas that we have here are things that, from the survey, we feel like we can do over the next couple of years to try to help with these needs that were identified. So the first one is the testing 504 coordinators. So what those people will do is those would be people that would come in and help our counselors, because the counselors do testing 504, they do the mental health, the well-being of our students. They do a lot of things, and hopefully with freeing them up to do some of the testing in the 504 on campuses, then they can spend more time doing the mental health and the wellness of our students. RTI program. That's where we're going to try to go in and help our students that are Tier 2 and 3 that need the interventions, that are struggling because of loss of learning. So we're looking at that program, seeing what we can do with materials and teachers to implement to try to help those students in Tier 2 and 3. iReady is a computer program, and so what the coaches did is they had the teachers last year try lots of reading and math programs. And iReady is the program that the teachers chose. It's I'm just going to read to you guys a definition of what it is. It's iReady Learning is a collection of rigorous reading and math instructional resources. It's designed to address every student's learning needs, accelerate growth, enable all students to access grade level learning. It engages students through motivating, personalized instruction, learning games, and other resources. So that would be grades K through 8 for math and reading. We're trying to purchase that for 2 years with this grant. The next need that was identified is an elementary math coach, because we have a district math coach, but she's stretched very thin because K through 12 is a lot for her to cover. So we would like to try to get an elementary math coach to help. Science coach was also mentioned, and that would be for grades K through 12. The next thing is a bilingual RTI aide for Higgins. This person would also be a translator for the district. So when people need translations on campuses, they could call this person to translate between the parents and the school staff. And the last thing that was mentioned was an assistant principal for our elementaries, because there's only a principal on all campuses and no elementary assistant principals to help. So these were the needs that committee feels like we need to address. So now we'll work this next semester to try to find the best way to help address these with the amount of money we have, because basically it's about $600,000 a year is all it is. So we're going to try to figure out the best use of that money to try to do the best that we can for our students in each of these areas. So, do you guys have any questions?
I have a question. I don't know if y'all can hear me. If I can get this one. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
On the secondary level, what are we doing on the secondary level? Will we be able to add some core subject teachers to help on the secondary level?
That was not mentioned in this meeting. None of the people that sat in felt like that. But you have to remember, too, when you're hiring people, you're hiring them for 2 years. And so that's a hard thing to do, to get people to come into a district to work knowing they've only got 2 years. But that was not a concern of this committee. They did not mention that.
Do we now have a shortage or two of teachers especially in the high school right now in some of our core subjects?
Well, where's Mr. Peake? That would be his question, because he's the high school man.
You guys, there's a shortage of teachers in the high school. There's a shortage on every campus. I mean, because the number of students that are there, that's keeping the ratio and the money that's involved. So it's a fine line. So there are other needs that we need as well. So.
But, like Mr. Keith has tried to hire for some of the other ESSER money. Well, it's hard to get someone to work 2 years. It's hard to get people to commit.
I mean, we have positions at the high school right now that are available, and we can't even fill them.
I understand that. Well, having teachers for 2 years is better than not having them at all.
For sure.
And I hope
finding people that will commit to that.
I hope some of this money might possibly be used to relieve some of the loads that some of these teachers have right now. I mean, it's fine I mean, instructional coaches, we've been there, done that. But I'm just thinking about hiring people that work with kids, directly with kids, and share the workloads that these teachers already have, trying to bring these students back up at a faster pace maybe than we have in the past.
And I agree with that, but you have to remember that the instructional coaches, they do work with the teachers So the teachers are working with the students. So they're helping them with their common unit assessments, their PAs, their lesson plans, their data. So they are at least assisting the teachers, taking that off of them so that they can work with the students. So, they're not directly in the classroom, no, they are helping the teachers. And the same with the testing 504 coordinators. They'll free the counselors up to work with the students as well.
I've got a question, though. You keep saying it's just 2 years, so you're going to get an elementary principal to come and work for 2 years, but we can't get a teacher to come work for 2 years. I mean, that's not commuting with me. I mean, you're hiring these people for 2 years.
Yeah, and I don't know. Would someone take that job because maybe they hope that steps them into another job? Maybe. I wouldn't take a 2-year job because,
It's the same thing
just
for
depends,
teaching. Maybe it
But
could
that's how long
turn
the
into
money
full-time.
lasts. Yeah, and that's all that we have it for 2 years. So it depends on the teacher where they are, if they want to use this stepping stone. But we definitely know that, and that's why that we're looking at materials and things like that to purchase to help the teachers as well, so we don't have these people that have taken a job for 2 years not knowing what's going to happen.
That was just my question.
Yeah, I agree.
But I would just like to add to that, having teachers for 2 years, and we have a teacher shortage. So
So what do you mean by
So
that?
what's the problem with, yeah, we can say this money's there for 2 years, but if we need these teachers, they could help fulfill the problem that we have with our shortage. And people that work directly with kids, to me, are more valuable than a bunch of materials and administrators that don't work directly with kids.
Thank you. Okay, so time out is 6:12. Okay, and we'll move on to public testimony. No one signed up for public testimony, so we'll go on to public forum. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so the next item on our agenda is public comment. This is the time for citizens, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Comments from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting. Please note that unless an individual's comments relate to an item on the agenda, the board is not allowed to respond other than to provide factual information or recite existing policy. To have your comments heard tonight, your name and the subject matter of your comments must be written on the sign-in sheet prior to the start of the meeting. The sign-in sheet is located in the front of the meeting room. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes unless the presiding officer determines it is necessary to make adjustments to the board's procedures for effective meeting management or to accommodate large numbers of persons wishing to address the board. However, an individual who wants to speak on an item on the agenda will not be given less than 1 minute to speak. If a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks that they designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. The board shall allot no more than 30 minutes for the public comment portion of the meeting. The presiding officer shall determine whether an individual addressing the board has attempted to solve a matter administratively through resolution channels established by policy. If not, the individual shall be referred to the appropriate policy to seek resolution, DGBA, FNG, or GF. The board shall not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience. If, after at least one warning from the presiding officer, and if any individual continues to disrupt the meeting by his or her words or actions, the presiding officer may request assistance from law enforcement officials to have the individual removed from the meeting. As the presiding officer, I will strictly enforce these procedures. With those cautions in mind, we will now be pleased to hear the public comments. And Morgan Butler, you are first. So Morgan, you'll have 5 minutes to speak, and I'll start the timer when you're ready, okay?
Hello, my name is Morgan Butler, and I'm a junior here at Northmore High School. I would like to thank you for letting me have the opportunity to speak today. I would like to begin by addressing past comments made at recent school board meetings. According to the United States Bills of Rights, the First Amendment gives us the right to express our ideas without interference from government including school boards. In my 13 years of attending the North Lamar Independent School District, I have never felt like any of my rights have been infringed upon. That is something so wonderful about this school. I have many outstanding teachers whose priorities consist of their students getting the proper education needed, all while caring about students' well-being. I can confidently say our teachers have done an amazing job at addressing both of those priorities. Frankly, for people to suggest some of our educators teaching inappropriate or racist material is foolish. My teachers have never once taught me critical race theory or anything inappropriate. As a young Christian woman, if a certain subject being taught were to question my morals, I would absolutely speak up and withhold what is right. For people to continue to question our materials, they continue to question my morals. In fact, our school district has a policy in place that if a student is given a reading material they felt was inappropriate or made them uncomfortable, they have the right to ask for an alternate reading assignment. If or when that happens, our teachers here honor that policy and provide an alternate assignment. Additionally, for someone to continue to question our teachers without sitting in our classes and without being taught what I am being taught is illegal. For someone to apply that after consistently being proved false and continue to attack these teachers is absurd. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, and next is Elizabeth Terry. So same thing, you'll be given 5 minutes, okay? I'm sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, sorry.
You're ready, whenever you're ready. Okay, you're good.
Hi, my name is Eliza Terry. I came here today to talk about a subject that is very important to me, and it is books. As a member of UIL Literary Criticism, I've been taught many things about books, but I've especially learned about the importance of them in the school world. As a fellow book lover, I would like to address how getting rid of great works of literature in the school system will be detrimental to the mental health of students. The Fault in Our Stars is the first book that sparked my love for literature. It not only gave me a break from my anxiety and stress, but it put me in a world that I was a part of. The Girl Who Could Fly gave me the ability to escape. And it introduced me to adventure when my life had nothing but depression and anger. Last but not least, fried green tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe got me through my freshman year of high school. I knew no one, but these stories that came out of this book brought me comfort. What I mean to say is that these books have lived inside of me, and they shaped me and they made me into the person I am today. Primarily, I would like to give a disclaimer. For one, my school library specifically has a policy that makes sure that a student without parental consent cannot check out a book if it has mature content. Also, I was never introduced to any type of pornography in my education. That being said, I do understand that some books have uncomfortable subjects such as racism, sexual abuse, and many other topics. In spite of these difficult points, it is important not to shield the truth of how the world actually is. Many authors understand that life is not unicorns and rainbows, and that is why they tell stories the way that they do. Getting rid of this type of literary work is the same as getting rid of some of the only authors that tell you how things truly are. If you get rid of books from the school system, you are essentially getting rid of not only a writer's book, but a writer's voice. Additionally, I've read many books, and I have found a sense of peace when I read these books. I read John Green and Chris Colfer when I was going through mental health issues. John Green especially got me through the tough times. Looking for Alaska, The Fault in Our Stars, and even Paper Towns were books that I could just relate to. But the reason that these books changed my life was because they mentioned loss, death, and even suicide. When I read John Green, I shed too many here to count. But I do not cry because I am sad. I cry because I finally feel like I can relate to someone. It's like somebody put everything I was feeling into written words. Taking away my John Green is the same way as taking away my support system. It is taking away my comfort and my sense of belonging. John Green makes me feel like I have a place in this life of chaos that no one can possibly navigate alone. That is why we have books. They are not only made for entertainment, but they are also made as a guide. Therefore, I ask you, what would happen if someone took away your comfort? Whether it is a TV show, a favorite snack, or even a blanket, what if one day you just didn't have it anymore? In similar fashion, some kids have difficulty relating to the world around them. I can guarantee that not everybody in this room understands what it's like to be gay, to want to commit suicide, to be sexually assaulted, or to have an eating disorder. But through books, a person can at least have something to get them through it. Books have always been there for us, waiting to be opened up, pages to be turned, and tears to be shed. But for the love of literature, think about what you were doing before you made the choice to ban books from a student's life. I understand that I may be just a high schooler, but I also understand that books have the power to impact every person in this room's life. Even if a book happens to have subjects that you aren't comfortable with, these topics that They could be topics that someone has been dealing with all of their life. On a final note, I would like to say this to you. When you read a book, and I'm in a good book, it not only helps you, but it gives you a whole new perspective on the world around you. Therefore, before you think about banning books, think about the lives that you were hurting in the process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Aaron Barnes.
All right.
5 minutes.
Can you hear me? Everybody okay? All right. My name is Aaron Barnes. I'm a North Lamar graduate. I've got 2 kids at this school, one at Higgins, one at Everett, and I'm here to address the board tonight. What I want to talk to you guys about is the reopening of campuses to parents. I want to tell you guys how much, on behalf of parents and our kids, we appreciate this. You know, the 2020-2021 school year was a little bit tough. Sending your kid to kindergarten, not being able to, you know, go eat lunch with them, maybe not being able to be in the classroom like we would like, was a little bit tough on our kids, and admittedly tough on us, you know, old people as well. And I just wanted to tell you guys, it means the world to us to be able to go to, you know, meet the teacher, to have fall festivals, costume parades, class parties, to be able to attend. It seems simple and trivial in some ways, but when we didn't have it, it just reminded us how important these things are for not just our kids' development, but for the parents as well. And as I've listened to my friends, you know, locally struggle with kids in other districts, or even my friends that live, you know, out of state in districts that haven't allowed parents back in the schools, it's brought a lot of, you know, a heartbreak on for them and for their children. And I just want to say, on behalf of all of the parents and these kids, it has been absolutely fantastic to have us back in the schools, to have kids on field trips, and you guys have navigated what's been a really, really tough situation superbly. So on behalf of parents, students, thank y'all so much. We appreciate all you've done, and looking forward to having another great half of the school year here. So thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Arnold. I'm ready.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Arnold, and I would like to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak publicly on behalf of the English department at North Lamar High School. We as a department would like to take a few minutes to show our appreciation to our school board, to our superintendent, to our assistant superintendents, and to our principals for their continued support. Undoubtedly, the last couple of years have been stressful, which is putting the COVID situation mildly. Through shutdowns and extended spring break and extended summer break or vacation, online classes and face-to-face classes, the school board and the North Lamar administration have done everything in their power to ease the almost unbearable load that has been strapped to our backs for the past 2 years. As a result of their tireless work, this administration procured a grant which would issue extra funds to help supplement the needed funds and materials to offset any learning gaps that may have occurred throughout this pandemic. Indeed, we understand that this was not an easy task to accomplish, but we are truly thankful for their tenacity and grit exhibited by their fortitude. Furthermore, the school board's presence in our hallways and at school functions has not gone unnoticed, and our department would like to inform the school board that we value your expertise and your commitment to the North Lamar School District. We know your job is a thankless job, but we are striving to change that narrative. Also, our department would like to thank the superintendent for a job well done throughout her tenure at North Lamar. Through her tireless efforts, she proposed a $51.55 million bond package, which passed with overwhelming support from the community to improve the educational environment that residents in the county have been accustomed to in the past. And as a result, students, parents, faculty, and staff will reap the benefits for years to come in the North Lamar School District. We understand that we only know a small portion of what happens behind the scenes for our students, parents, principals, and faculty and staff, but in the end, we know that we can rest easy knowing she and the school board only have the school district's best interests at heart, and that we know that you will defend it with all your might so that we are successful in anything that we endeavor. With all of that said, the English department would like to address the unfounded implications concerning our instructional and supplemental materials that have been launched over the past few months at the monthly school board meetings. Currently, the English staff is one of the best that I've ever encountered at North Lamar. We have 6 English teachers with a combined number of 38 years of education just in English. Clearly, these educators and I are scholars in our subject area, and we do not accept any unfounded notion to the contrary. To illustrate, in 2021, the students in the AP English Language and Composition class, which is taught at the junior level at the high school, scored a 3 or higher with a 90.9% success rate as compared to 46.4 in Texas and 57.7 globally. Also, the mean score for these NL students was a 4.0 compared to 2.55 in Texas and 2.86 globally. Furthermore, the AP Lit class, which is taught at the senior level, scored a 3 or higher with a 66% success rate compared to 37.3% in Texas and 43.9% globally. Undeniably, the success of the Advanced Academics program is due to the fact that this department strives to provide students with a diversity of texts that represent multiple perspectives on multicultural ideas, and we challenge our students with compelling texts and grouping excerpts in order to strategically use words, comparisons, and syntax to convey a specific tone or style in an argument. For continued success in the AP English program, we cannot marginalize any group because, in the words of Walt Whitman and Langston Hughes, these voices hear America singing too. Ultimately, Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird said it best when he states, "You never really understand a person until you climb into his skin and walk around in it." And we would like to thank everybody for their support tonight too. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Bryant.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Bryant, and I'm speaking on behalf of the North Lamar English Department. We thank you for allowing us time to speak. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, noted suffragette, stated, quote, "The moment we begin to fear the opinions of others and hesitate to tell the truth that is in us, and for motives of policy are silent when we should speak, the divine floods of light and life no longer flow into our souls." End quote. Due to the accusations leveled at our department collectively and the October 18th and November 8th board meetings and various social media platforms as concerns critical race theory and pornography, we feel that we can be silent no longer. A response is warranted. We are here to emphasize that our department utilizes instructional material chosen specifically to address the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills as set forth by the Texas Educational Agency. While different literary lenses are discussed in brief through our college-level courses, at no point do we engage in teaching a graduate-level theory such as critical race theory in on-level classrooms. Additionally, we have board policies that also help drive our instruction. Specifically, 1, stimulate growth in factual knowledge, enjoyment of reading, literary appreciation, aesthetic values, and societal standards. 2, present various sides of controversial issues so that students have an opportunity to develop under guidance skills in critical analysis and in making informed judgments in their daily lives. And 3, represent many ethnic, religious, and cultural groups in their contribution to the national heritage and world community. Before we are accused of being talking heads, spouting policy and hiding behind guidelines, let us reiterate that we carefully review instructional materials, including supplemental materials such as excerpts, before use in the classroom and are ever mindful of content, presenting a curated selection specific to our community and educational purpose, rejecting even approved instructional materials for use in our classrooms. The idea that we are willfully teaching pornographic or otherwise objectionable material with the intent to harm our students is not only false, but quite frankly, insulting, inflammatory, and injurious. We do not operate in a clandestine manner, but strive to be as transparent as possible. Moving into transparency. What resolution is being hoped for with these issues? What precisely is the goal of challenging the professionalism of our department? Are these individuals only concerned taxpayers in our district, or do they speak for a larger collective? These talking points smack of a deeper, larger, more insidious agenda than has been forthcoming by these accusers. To paraphrase Shakespeare, their argument is full of sound and fury, yet signifies nothing. The best they can lobby against us is a far-reaching, degrading charge of teaching pornography to our students. On that subject, which example of text is this charge supported by? How is teaching the human condition, albeit with tough subjects, sexually explicit? We feel that these accusations are being inspired by a misguided notion that the educational system is driven by liberal narratives designed to tear apart communities and indoctrinate our youth. We feel compelled to point out North Lamar always operates in the best interests of our students. We still pledge allegiance to both the U.S. and Texas flags, followed by a moment of silence to allow our students time for contemplation. We provide our teachers the option to become trained in the use of a firearm, which is stored in a biometric safe in the classroom, to better protect our student body. We do not stifle religion on our campus, as demonstrated by our active fellowship of Christian athletes. Each decision made by North Lamar always takes into account our students first, not politics. Now we turn directly to the parents, community members, and voters in our district. Please do not sit by in silence and allow these accusations to stand unquestioned. Friends, Panthers, and community members, lend us your voices in denouncing these misguided accusations. Please support us as we educate our students with their interests in mind, interests that are separate from any political ideology. We in the North Lamar English Department have determined that we cannot silence the voices of diversity in our classrooms. We cannot silence those who have different worldviews than our own. We cannot silence those who write of hardship and difficult issues. And we cannot remain silent in the face of such blatant and unwarranted attacks by a radical few. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, consent agenda. And has everyone had a chance to look at the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept it.
Okay, motion made by Red, seconded by Bo. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, item 7, action discussion items. Item A, discussion only, maintenance update. Mr. Landis?
How you doing this afternoon? I'm going to start with an update on the softball field. We're a couple days ahead of schedule. They laid the sod today. The fence will start back in the morning. They're coming back at the end of the week to put the netting up. Irrigation's been done, so we're ahead of schedule for a couple of days. Now it's going to rain, so it might take us back, but we're in good shape. Irrigation system, the drainage system behind the facility, we're at 70%. It's on schedule. Of course, if it rains the next 2 days, we're getting ready to pour back. That might stop that, but they had a few days scheduled in there in case we did have some rain. And HVAC change out, we started at the high school. They're trying to get 2 a day in the 200 hall and 100 hall. And we're waiting on curves for stone, spark stone rooftop units. Intercom system has been approved by Mr. Stewart and TIPS, and we'll be starting that the second week of January at the high school and in Stone. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Landis. And item B, discussion only, attendance and enrollment. Mr. Watson?
In your board book, you should have the new enrollment numbers as of the 8th of December. In Higgins, we have 346 students now. At Everett, 272. Parker, 233. Bailey, we're at 287. Stone, 543. And high school at 697, which gives us a total of 2378 total students enrolled. It's down just a little bit from last month. Our ADA enrollment, where we get our funds from, at Higgins we're at 309, Everett 272, Parker 209, Bailey 287, Stone 543, and the high school at 697. So our ADA number is 2317. If you look at the second page, it talks about our refined ADA as of that December, the 8th date was at 2156, and it was at 93.97% attendance. Again, that's about 49 students more than what we budgeted. So we're still in good shape. We've been staying pretty steady all year at that, and so it's good to have a kind of a steady. It fluctuates, a couple of students every month. It does every year, but we're glad to see that the student population is pretty stable. Any questions on attendance?
Is there anything, rhyme or reason why we would lose 9 students at the high school? I mean,
when those students leave, we do what is called a student leaver form now. We've been doing that for 3 years now, so that we can keep track. They're all moving, like either out of state or, it could be from somebody losing a job, or their family situation may become different or whatever. And so it's going to change. And if you go back and look each month, some months it's at the high school, some months it's at Stone, some months at this campus. And so it just depends on the circumstances. But we do track the students as they leave now. And so we can build data to look and see. And there's a survey that they fill out, the parents fill out, and ask them if there's any, if there was any trouble with the district. And I'm going to say 98% of them give us outstanding reviews. It's just a situation where the families are moving or some situation like that. But I've been very pleased with the data that we've been receiving, and that we can keep up with, where the students are going. Any other questions?
You answered the question I had. So I knew we had that policy, the exit interview.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to item C, consideration and approval. The board's intent to renew the District of Innovation Plan in February 2022. Mr. Watson?
Okay. As I know Sheila and Red were here whenever North Lamar became a District of Innovation. In 2016, the legislature came up with the schools can apply to be what is called a District of Innovation. What that does, it gives you more local control on certain items. There's some things you can't have control over, but there are things like the uniform start date. Right now the state says that school cannot start till the last Monday of the month. Well, if you're a District of Innovation and that's one of the waivers that you file for, then you can set your own calendar to benefit you and your district in the best interest of the students. Some of the other things is like certification. Right now, the state law says that you cannot hire a teacher unless they're certified. And if you don't have certified teachers, what do? Well, you can file for an emergency, and the state can either give you the waiver or not. And so it's totally in their control. But by filing a waiver on that, you get local control. And so that we can look at a person's qualifications. And we're always going to strive, like on certifications, we always try to get our teachers certified if they're not, but it allows us as a local community to make that decision instead of the state. But every 5 years you have to renew this, and so there's a process. First, the board has to agree that they're going to intend to renew the District of Innovation, and then it's got to be posted on the website for 30 days, and then our District of Innovation Committee will meet and finalize the final version, and then that will come before you, and then you have to vote on the final version. But right now, we have to have an okay from the board, and you have to send it to the commissioner saying that you intend to renew the District of Innovation. So at this date, all we're asking for is that you do intend to renew the district innovation. So you will need a motion and approval of that, so we can notify the commissioner.
And we're leaving everything just the way it was.
Yes.
We're not changing anything. I move that we stay with our district.
Okay, motion made by Sheila, seconded by Bo. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and D, consideration and approval, superintendent appraisal instrument. Ms. Stewart.
Okay, in your board book, you will see the appraisal instrument. The month of January is when we go over the superintendent evaluation. In board policy BJA legal and local, you can find the description of the duties of the superintendent. And tonight, I'm simply asking for approval to use the same appraisal instrument that we used last year.
So moved.
Motion made by Red, seconded by Jimmy. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, and move on to item 8, superintendent report.
Okay, tonight I just want to share some things that have taken place in our district over this past semester. This is just really a time to brag on our students and all of their accomplishments. By no means is this a list of every accomplishment, because we have had a lot of great things taking place. This is just kind of an overall summary of where we are closing out for the holiday break. But members of the high school NHS, Beta, and HOSA clubs and the students at Parker Elementary collected canned goods for Live Thankfully, and those have been bagged and they are going to be sent home with needy families for the holiday break. Senior Dawson Doherty was named to the Texas High School Coaches Association Second Team Academic All-State. Our boys basketball placed first in the Prairieland tournament, winning the final game 57-36 to claim the title. Our girls basketball was the silver bracket champion with 32-29 win over Joshua, and all tournament selection went to Logan Doherty. For our fine arts department, for North Lamar High School choir, there were 18 students that attended the all-region choir concert in November. Those same 18 auditioned on December 2nd, and 14 of those students have been selected to advance to the next round, which is area, on January 8th at SFA, where they will be auditioning for a spot in the TMEA All-State Choir. 45 of our North Lamar High School band students competed in the Region 4 TMEA band competition this past Friday, and 16 of those students qualified to compete at the TMEA area level, which will take place on January 8th. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I'd also like to brag on our band on their state competition and bringing home 4th place this year. For academics, North Lamar High School Speech and Debate swept the Regional UIL Student Congress competition, advancing 3 students to the UIL State Contest in Austin on January 10th through the 13th. For CTE, our Auto Tech competed at the State ASC competition on December 4th. And our FFA Christmas Float won 1st place for the school division in the Paris Christmas Parade. Idana C. Gearman advanced to the Area Skills Contest in Health Science. And HOSA organized a very successful blood drive. So kudos to all of those students and to their sponsors. We're very proud of them. It takes a lot of work to bring home the amount of accomplishments that our kids do each and every day. Due to the recent interest in our library books, we have purchased from Atrium an online library catalog system, and that was uploaded today to all of our campuses so that anyone can have access to our library books at North Lamar ISD. This is a way that we see that we can be extremely transparent with any library materials that we have available for parents and students to view. We will have our early dismissal take place this Thursday and Friday at 1 o'clock. That's also our semester exam days. For the high school, their exams actually begin on Wednesday. Our staff returns from Christmas break on January 4th, which is a Tuesday, and our students will return on January 6th, which is a Thursday. So those are some of our highlights and just brief information that's going on in our district. Board training is going to be coming up, and I'd like for you to write down these dates and get back with me. We're looking at having a team of 8 training, and we're looking at January 19th and January 26th. So one of those dates, everyone will have to be present for that training. So if you would check those dates and let me know which date works best for you, and once everyone has given me their dates, then I will notify everyone of which date is selected. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to item 9, executive session. The board will conduct a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapters D and E. We are going in at 6:45.